Labels and everything are so confusing, and I have done this so many times where I thought I was buying the cooler tone light, and actually that will save you a lot of headache in the future. Hey guys, today's video is a how-to on lighting. A lovely subscriber of mine requested this video. She's run into that common problem of moving into a rental and not having built-in overhead lighting in certain rooms. In the evenings, it's completely dark in her living room, and a desk lamp in the corner is just not going to cut it. So stick with me as I talk through types and techniques to get you the look you want for your lighting. Layers of lighting. This is the ideal that we are striving for. So in a space, we want to achieve what is referred to as layers of light. So this involves multiple layers through different types of lighting. So what are the different types? The first type of lighting is kind of that basic general form that most people and most spaces have already, which is ambient lighting. So the main light, often ceiling mounted, even those recessed round lights, that's the ambient lighting, which in a lot of cases is already existing. Next, we have task lighting. So a desk lamp to light up your workspace, or those swing arm lamps that you can adjust to highlight a certain area you need illuminated. Lights on a vanity, pendant lights sometimes, just any light that's concentrated on a certain area to help you perform a task. So this one again is very functional, just like ambient lighting can be pretty necessary in a lot of cases. And the third type of lighting is accent lighting, which is really more about design and aesthetics, more of a decorative sprinkle on top that can bring your design to the next level and really elevate it. So this often is used to draw attention to a feature or a detail, like those art lights, little bars that are over a piece of art or painting to showcase them. We see that like in museums. You can often find them in a bookcase or a china cabinet to illuminate certain elements that are, special to you or expensive. So as we know, light highlights things, and so this is an extra step to highlight certain elements in your home that you want to showcase and makes it look more professional. Okay, since I'm helping out my renter friend here, we're gonna get into renter-friendly ambient light options. So one great route to take is the swag hook option. So getting a light that plugs into an outlet, adding a ceiling hook and swagging the cord in there, and then placing the light where you want to. Some great benefits to this is you can place it kind of exactly where you want to, and you can adjust the height. It's easy to lower and raise the light once it's been installed. It's inexpensive, accessible. You can easily grab those hooks almost anywhere, hardware store, big box stores. You just really need one of those ceiling hooks that has a anchor, like a wall anchor, that will support the weight of whatever light you're installing. And then you also have a lot of options to choose from. You can pick any light and make it work. And nowadays there are a lot of plug-in light options like this, different pendants and drum lights and different things. Some cons to this plug-in light situation: it may not be enough to light up the whole room. If it's a large, pretty pendant light and you're in a rental that has not particularly high ceilings, you may be limited to where you can put it. If you've got tall people walking around, they may hit their heads if it's, right in the center of the room and it's this, large decorative thing. So you may be restricted to keeping it above seating around the side of the room. And again, you're kind of limited on placement a little bit because you need to plug it into an outlet. So you need it close enough to be able to plug it in. Extension cords can help that, but only to an extent, I guess, because ideally we don't want a ton of exposed cords hanging out everywhere, and so reducing that as much as possible is the ideal. And getting cords that are the same color as the walls, if it's all white, doing white cords can help kind of disguise that and blend it in a little bit better, but that can always look a little tacky and cheap when a lot of that is exposed. Okay, my next option is battery operated lights. Light fixtures, although they're not really fixtures because they're temporary, but they have options you can order on Amazon where they attach to the ceiling just through a couple of screws, so you will make a couple holes that you'll need to patch up after when you're moving out. And the methods for turning them on, there are some remote controlled options and then some motion censored options, so the light will just come on as needed when you're in the space. I've seen options that have a rechargeable cable, so you can plug it in and recharge the batteries, so you're not having to constantly buy and discard batteries, which is nice. And what's cool is they have some low profile ones. So if you have lower ceilings and you can't do anything major in terms of your overhead lights, they've got some narrow options. Like this ultra thin light is less than an inch thick, great for low ceilings and tall people. And because they're all pretty much low profile, you have a lot of freedom to where you place them, you know, just wherever you think is best to achieve the best lighting situation for you. And you can install a couple of them. It shouldn't interfere. You don't have to be worrying about outlets and stuff. Some downsides to this though, there aren't a ton of designs and styles to choose from. They're all pretty basic and simple, which can be fine if you're just using it for lighting's sake and not trying to add to the design and aesthetic. But that's one thing to consider. You will have to deal with batteries in one form or another. You will have to put a couple holes in the wall that you'll need to patch, and depending on the power of the light and the size of your room, you may need more than one, so more holes to patch. But they're small and it's not a huge deal. Another option that's very easy and accessible are floor lamps. It's a very quick option, hardly any install. You just buy it and place it somewhere and plug it in. So no power tools or holes are going to be required. You get the freedom to kind of choose the style and look that you want of the lamp. But again, because you're working with cords, you are going to be a little bit limited on placement. So you'll need it somewhat near an outlet. And the further away it is from the outlet, the more chance of a trip hazard, having wires. So something to think about. But if they're kind of on the perimeter of the room near an outlet, that could work for you. And then, like all of these options, there's the potential that one light is not going to be enough to light up the entire room, and so you may need to supplement that with another floor lamp or something else. But again, that's okay, because like I said, the ideal we're striving for is layers of lighting, and so having one stark, crazy bright light isn't necessarily the goal. Having layers of light can kind of create the mood that you want. So as long as you're cautious of fire hazards, LED only people. But really, this all comes down to your needs. Are you a late night crafter like me and require a space that is well lit and away from the people that are sleeping at night? Consider what surface you're going to be working on if you're up at night. A desk, kitchen counter, or spread out on the floor like I tend to do. The room you're lighting, is it just a pass-through room that you need limited light to just get around in? Do you like to read at night? If so, what would kind of be the spots you would gravitate towards? And figuring out lighting to accommodate that for your convenience and comfort. And then you've got to consider your routine and your roommates or partner's routines. For example, my husband often works at 4 a.m., so he has to get up and be able to see to get ready without disturbing us and waking us up. So the easier and more convenient that process is, the way that's all set up is better. All right, now we're gonna get into color temperature. So this has a lot to do with the vibe you're going for in the space. I'm not gonna get very technical here, but there are different color tones of light in different light bulbs that you can purchase. And it can be overwhelming when you go to the hardware store and they have a gazillion options and the names are confusing. So I'll walk you through the basics here. All right, so where on the temperature scale do you want to be? If you're unsure, then you should aim for the middle, the more neutral space. Most brands call this cool light, which is confusing, but neutral is cool light. And then on one side of the spectrum, we have daylight, which is the most cool, cold tone, which I know is kind of a misnomer. When I think daylight, I would think it would be on the warmer end. So, but it's not. So anyway, daylight is more on the colder side, and so like think blue tones. And so for a lot of people, it is too stark and cold and sterile, and you know, can feel kind of like not residential but more like commercial business lights. So it's all a matter of opinion. And then on the other end is the warmest tone, which is called soft light. So soft light is more orangey, warm light tone. And a lot of people enjoy its warm, comfy glow. I tend to find it a little too orangey, but for me in general, I tend to like the cooler colors, and so maybe that's why. And this may not be related at all, but I tend to get hot easier. I think seeing those cool colors and cool tones is really nice for me, especially like in the summer. But some people are always cold, and so they like the the warmth that like psychologically we feel when we see those warm lights and colors. So totally based on your preference, but that's kind of the color scale. When in doubt, pick the cool light because that's actually the neutral tone. And the other two may be a little too extreme for you, and so sticking there might be safer, especially if you're unsure. So that's the very basics of color temperature for lighting. So for a vibe that is cozy and cave-like and warm, you may want a more like dimly lit, warm toned light situation. Or maybe you're looking for something really bright and fresh and energizing to kind of keep you alert and increase the efficiency to be able to see everything all the time, all the details. Allow klutzy people like me to be able to see everything and not step on my kids' Legos or trip on other things. So it's kind of just whatever you are seeking. And when you do figure out which tone you like and prefer, make sure you make note of it, because you know, months later, if you need to replace a bulb and you're at the store trying to figure it out, the pictures and labels and everything are so confusing. And I have done this so many times where I thought I was buying the like cooler tone light, and actually I was buying the neutral temperature one. So make note of it, and that will save you a lot of headache in the future. Okay, other factors to consider with lighting. Is there natural light in the space already? And is it sufficient during the day, or do you need a little supplemental lighting to help out if it's a dimmer, darker spot? How important is convenience for you? Now be honest with yourself. Will you really walk across the room and reach under the couch or behind the couch and plug in a light every time you need it? Are you planning a setup that is going to require you to pull out a light or move furniture every time you need it? Should the convenience of the light be the priority so that you will actually use it? Or is the aesthetic or the cost the most important value for you? Now, if convenience is important for you, you gotta try to cut out all those friction points that get in the way and frustrate you. Like for example, put the part of the cord that has the switch on it within reach from where you're sitting at your chair, so you can flip it on when you need to. Or get remote operated lights and Velcro them to the wall by the existing light switch so that you know where it is, you have easy access to it. Or try the motion operated lights, so you don't have to do anything at all and just walk into the space and wave your hands and it comes on. Or you can plug in your lights into a smart outlet and set it on a timer or connect it to your Alexa so you can tell the Alexa to turn it on and off. Or to save on cost, a cheaper option, you can just get one of those timer operated outlets that you plug into an outlet, then plug whatever it is into the outlet. They can take a minute to figure out, but you read the instructions and figure out how the clock works to get the time right. And then after that initial setup, it will automatically turn on during the times of day that you need it. So, and those are cheap and accessible. You could pick one up for pretty cheap at a Walmart and get that done. I use that with my grow lights in the winter when I'm starting seedlings to eventually plant out in the ground in the spring. And this year we did connect our Christmas tree to a smart outlet in our Alexa, and that was the best thing ever, being able to just tell her. I think we had it on a timer, but there were certain times of day we wanted to turn it on outside of that timer range, and so we could just tell her to turn it on and off, and the kids could do it, and it was really cool. So recommend that. All these little changes and minor things can really affect your day-to-day and are actually pretty important. It's worth putting a little more thought and time into setup initially in order to have your day-to-day run more smoothly, especially if you have ADHD. All these little friction points and annoyances, forgetting which switch goes to which, or losing the remote control, all these things can really add up and frustrate you and exhaust you before you've even gotten to the hard part of your day. So definitely worth considering. And also use this strategy with other aspects of designing your space. Every task and function of your home, if it's set up, you know, in the most convenient way, it can totally change your life, seriously. Now let's circle back to how to get that layered lighting effect. So to layer the different lights we have, you know, we start with that ambient light, that main light, to generally light the space, and maybe one or two lights typically. And again, that's usually already in place but not always. We walked through some renter-friendly options to try to get that when it's not in place in your rental. And then task lighting, using as kind of supplemental lighting in key areas that require good light. A very functional type of light, like the entryway of your home, having good lighting to see the keys and hooks and where your wallet and all your things are. Check yourself in the mirror, wherever you do your makeup in the morning, where you're doing work in the evening, just those little points where you need good lighting. And then the accent lighting, which is an extra step, but just adding one or two can really elevate your home and create an elegant look. You can light up a nice chair that you have styled in the corner to kind of highlight and illuminate that, or adjust an elbow lamp to illuminate a favorite piece of art. It's just kind of a subtle, elegant touch that can really elevate the whole look and make your space feel more professionally designed and curated. So if you care about the aesthetics and that kind of thing, it's a good extra step to take. Cheap puck lights that you can sometimes get at the dollar store can totally work for this, for the task lighting and the accent lighting. You can place it on top of a cabinet and have it illuminate up above it to kind of create a cool look, or inside of your bookcase, illuminating a nice collection of books you have, or a little sculptural piece. Like under your kitchen uppers, there's ways of doing like renter installs, including like the puck lights that you touch, but there's other options too, like the strip lighting. So really aim for layering your ambient lighting with some very functional task lighting, and then a little fun accent lighting to create a really well-designed looking, well-lit space. And then use the different color temperatures to your advantage to help create the vibe and the look that you're going for. Warm and cozy, or kind of more neutral space, or something a little more modern and cool toned. So request videos in the comments. I will probably do them, i.e. this video. And check out my Christmas clearance video where I showed all sorts of hacks and ideas to save money and take advantage of those crazy 90% off sales and gift things for other holidays. It's a good one. Check it out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love and appreciate all of you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.